Welcome to the Future of What? I'm your host, Portia Sabin. Today, we're doing our Best of 2015 episode, and we're going to talk to Ben and James from Killer Rock Stars about their favorite things. We'll also talk to M.I.A. drummer, MBA holder, activist, and musician Kiran Gandhi about her Best of 2015. It's all coming up on the Future of What?
Can I have a taste of your ice cream? Can I lick the crumbs from your table? Can I interfere in your crisis? No, mind your own business.
Hey, hi guys.
Hello.
Hey, long time no see.
I know, we have not seen each other we have seen each other. It's a total lie.
We're in the studio.
We're in the studio. So right here today at the Future of What HQ, we are having my homies, James Reling and Ben Parrish from Killer Rock Stars, the redoubtable and well-known record label, Killer Rock Stars.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of a few.
I've heard of it. They have come in today to talk about their Best of 2015, which is a year that we are rapidly losing. Thank you. I don't know. What do you think? Good that we're losing it or we're sad?
Time just goes on.
I don't know. I mean, life's meaningless. It doesn't matter.
Okay, well, show's over. Bye. The end. Come on, guys. Have some hope.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it's been a great year, actually. I don't know. I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of good records this year.
All
And
right.
some of them were released this year, so hey.
Some of them were released this year, not
Yeah.
just in previous years.
Just
Yeah.
reissues.
Not just your lathe cut of Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah. It was a good year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if it was such a good year, Ben, why don't you give us something to listen to?
You can cue up that Coneheads track.
So what is this going to be?
It's this band that I read about on this website, Cassette Gods, which they cover cassette-only releases, and it's this weird punk band from Indiana, and I can't remember the name of the title. I'm gonna bring it up on my phone.
It's a very long
Is weird
title.
punk a genre?
Sure, it's an internet genre.
Did you just make it up?
No, I don't think people say it out loud, but if you spend a lot of time looking up interesting new bands on like underground message boards or blogs that aren't sponsored by ad revenue, you've probably seen it.
Okay, can you give us an example of a weird punk band
Well, this one, or I think
that we might have heard of?
that like maybe Tyvek would have been considered
Oh,
one,
okay.
or this Silk Breeze band, Psychedelic Horse
Oh, yeah,
Blank,
sure.
or whatever.
Horse blank. Psychedelic horse blank.
Psychedelic Horses Hit is what they used to call them on WFMU.
What is that band? Remember, they sent me a demo and I was like, I can't work with them because their name is too much. It was like Slut.
Oh, Slut Ever. Was that it?
No.
Perfect.
It'll come to me. Perfect great band, but that's a
They're
terrible
not
name.
great. I think they
It's a
were out
terrible
of
name.
our league
I like
at the
the
time.
name.
Or like Nuts would be described as weird punk. But this album's called LP1, aka 14-year-old high school PC fascist hype lords rip off Devo for the stake of extorting money from helpless, impressionable Midwestern people punk LP.
Wow.
And
They have room for that on the album cover?
I'm looking at the album cover right now on my phone, and it's not on there. It just says LP1, the Coneheads. I'm waiting for my copy to arrive in the mail. Maybe it's on the spine. They're
Awesome.
we're gonna need a way bigger LP spine.
We're going to need a bigger
Or
boat.
maybe it's on the back or the LP label. But maybe when I get the record in the mail, I can come back on the show and
Okay.
make the announcement.
All right, so let's listen to a little bit of Coneheads.
And this track's called Way Things Am.
I love it. That band is awesome. I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. They remind me of so many things that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm lost for words even just like trying to figure out how to describe it.
Yeah. No, I really like it. I think it's really good.
It reminds me of like how excited I got like the first time I heard Erase Errata, Other Animals, or like the first time I heard Deerhoof or whatever. There's just like this infectious energy to it.
Very infectious energy. But also I totally get the weird punk thing. It's like a little Devo-y.
Yeah.
I like it. A little bit, you know.
Or like the Spits. They seem to be kind of like mysterious too. It's kind of hard to find a lot of information about them online, which is kind of interesting about them. But we found a video, like some live footage, and it's like pretty cool.
Yeah.
Don't look at Ben when you talk because your mouth
okay.
goes away from the mic and then we can't hear you.
Mercy.
Don't. Either that or we'll put Ben right in front of you. You can just talk to Ben. Talk to Ben.
Okay.
Cool. That's really good. I loved it. That was awesome. What's next? James, what do you got for us?
Sure. I would like to play a band from San Francisco called Silver Shadows. The song is called By My Vampire's Side. All right, so they're just a cool, like, shoegaze pop band from San Francisco of ladies, and, don't have a ton to say about them, but they're pretty cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It's nice. I'd
Really
like to see
nice.
them live. I'm not sure what they'd be like.
I saw them live actually.
Oh.
A year and a half ago. They played at Turn Turn Turn, which is about a block and a half from my house, and they performed opening for Ruby Pins. They were really good.
Oh, excellent. Cool.
Yeah, they sound terrific. I really liked them. I like that shoegazy early 90s sound when it's done
Yeah.
in a little bit more of an up-tempo way, you know? So it's like, oh, I loved My Bloody Valentine, but I also like having a little energy. Move around a little bit.
It's upbeat. It's positive. It's good for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Pick up your spirits.
That was really good. Ben, what do you got for us?
Well, we could listen to that monetized Velvet Underground YouTube video.
Ooh,
I could talk
it's
about
monetized.
Yeah, Greg Ganaway would love that.
Yes.
White light going messing up my mind. Don't you know it's gonna make me go blind? Yeah, white heat, it took me on down to my toes. Lord have mercy, white light had a goodness knows. Oh, white light is lighting up my eyes. Don't you know it fills me up with surprise? Yeah, white heat, it took me on down to my toes. Lord have mercy, white light had a goodness knows. Wake it.
So why is that in here in your best of 2015?
I buy a lot of Velvet Underground live albums, and the Matrix tapes are, I think, the first officially released soundboard recordings from my favorite era of the Velvet Underground, which is a little after Doug Yule joined the band and before they recorded Loaded. And people knew that these tapes existed for about 20 years or so, but the guy who had the tapes didn't want to get them released until he could come up with some deal where he got paid and also the band did and stuff. And some of the tracks have been released occasionally over the years, but never by themselves. It had always been, oh, you have to buy this 5 CD reissue of this box set you already own or something. So, this 4 CD box set came out, I think 2 weeks ago, and the performances are amazing. I've heard about 15 different versions of every song on this box set, but I think that these are, besides the Quintapes box set that came out in 2001, probably for me the definitive live versions, and you can hear just how great of a guitarist Sterling Morrison is with rhythm. Doug Yule's doing some great stuff with keyboards, and even, they do like a 9-minute version of White Light, White Heat, which on the album when Kale was in the band was a 2.5-minute song. But they stretch it out and still make it just super exciting. And I keep going back to it and finding new things that I had never noticed before that were going on in the songs, just because most of the previously released live recordings were done with a microphone by an audience member holding a tape player or a reel-to-reel machine or something.
Cool. What label did that come out on, this box set?
Polydor Records, which I think is in a subsidiary of Atlantic or whatever, one of the 3 companies that owns all of the major label umbrella stuff.
Right.
But I think it's interesting because it's an example of a major label actually doing something right and giving me what I want and not having to buy a bunch of stuff I already own to get 6 songs I don't have.
Right, because, our episode that we're doing for next week is on reissues. Yeah. And I feel like it's mostly the indies that have been killing it with reissues. But there are some reissues on majors here and there that have been worthwhile, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, it's just great. There's so much going on there. It felt like just unearthing some crazy treasure. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop playing with this cup.
Take the cup away from Ben.
Putting it away.
Goodbye. Cool.
Well, what I like about that song is that he says, "Have mercy." So that's one of my favorite things to say.
That is a great thing to say.
Have mercy.
Yeah.
I should pepper that in my conversation more often. Yeah. My best friend, when we were in college, went through a phase where she'd said, I'll be hog-tied.
Oh, my gosh.
All the time, which is the greatest. Like, you'd say, guess what? I got an A on my exam today. And she'd say, I'll be hog-tied. I was like, I want to affect that so badly.
That's awesome.
So good. James, what do you got for us?
Sure. Let's listen to Maman Sani. This was just put out by Sahel Sounds, which is a label in Portland that reissues a lot of stuff from Africa specifically.
We talked to them on this show.
Oh, right. And that was great. And so this guy, Maman Sani, these recordings were made between 1981 and 1984. And it's the 3rd LP that Sahel Sounds has put out by this guy. And probably the first one they put out was my favorite, but I really like this one a lot too, because it's got a lot of recordings that are a little bit different than the first 2 albums, including one track that has a trio, which is the only time that appears on all the albums. Usually it's just the guy alone playing organ with a drum machine. But this track that I want to play is more similar to the first 2 albums, and it's just a really good thing to kind of zone out to while you're reading or writing or whatnot.
vocals?
Nope, just goes on like that for a while.
That's cool.
Yeah. Who needs vocals?
Who needs vocals? That's so much better in terms of ambient, whatever you would call it. I really prefer that to whatever it is that the kids are listening to today that I do not understand.
That stuff?
No, no, the stuff that goes.
Oh, the stuff I play at the office.
No, not that stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, it's very joyful. I really like that about it. It's very interesting and is just kind of a hidden gem. I guess no one really knew about it until I believe Christopher went over and kind of ended up tracking this guy down and putting out some recordings. So I'm very thankful for that.
Very cool. I like it.
Cool.
It immediately made me think Cassioton for the Painfully Alone.
Oh,
just in
blast from the past.
Just
in
name only.
Totally.
It's like doo doo doo.
Yep.
Plinking on the Casio.
Sweet songs. Yeah.
Very cute. Cool. Well, now we're gonna play one of mine.
Oh, cool.
It's a solo guy from Long Island, New York, who records under the name Red Cabin. And he just sent me a demo, and I love it. And he sent me a bunch more stuff, and I think he's an incredibly talented songwriter.
Oh, cool.
I think he's a really good songwriter. I think he's got a lovely voice. I like it that he sort of has a hopeful message in a somewhat minor key. It's a little bit. I love that juxtaposition of, happy, sad at the same time.
Yeah. It's a difficult balance to get. So it's nice when someone can do it well.
Yeah. And it just sounds really great. So that was my best of 2015. That's it. Everything else sucked. No, okay. I'm just kidding. Whatever. We had we had comedy too, right? We had a lot of comedy that we liked this year.
Yeah.
But we put out most of it.
There were comedy shows and podcasts and stuff that I liked. There were a few comedy albums that I liked.
That we didn't put out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about some of them.
I could play a track from the Randy Litkey thing if you guys don't mind me holding up the phone to this microphone.
No, we can do that.
Okay. I hope there isn't any profanity on this. Okay, let's see.
Have you guys ever been to New York? Oh, perfect. We have so much in common. This is going to be great. I grew up in a small town, so I went to New York for the first time. I was pretty scared. I felt a lot like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Because I was completely overwhelmed and 100% pubeless. What? Just my style. No, I'm joking. I have 1,000 pubes. It's average. 1,000 is an average. I Googled it. You're born with 500. Don't believe me? Google baby pubes. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay, that was funny.
I don't know exactly what to say about this guy. I've seen him. I saw him open for Neil Hamburger back in 2010 or so, and I was like, this is really funny. And I kind of forgot about it. And then he had his Comedy Central special come out earlier this year, and he does this podcast that I listen to called The Bone Zone, which is extremely silly. They do a lot of prank phone calls. And
you love prank phone call humor.
Yeah, I do.
You should talk about the time that we saw him live at the Funhouse and those two guys that were there.
Oh, yeah. We went to Funhouse Lounge, which is kind of near the office, and him and this other comedian, Brendan Walsh, were performing. And we got there early. We got some seats so that we could enjoy the show from a nice view. And these two people sat really close to us, about 5 feet away. And they were probably the most drunk people I've ever seen at a comedy show. They were trying to have conversations with the comedians the whole night.
But it was crazy. Like, they weren't trying to antagonize the comedians. They were obviously huge fans.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the Neil Hamburger thing where they thought that they were like adding to the show.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. They were too drunk to realize that
Yeah, they were so
Yeah.
wasted.
Oh, wow.
And we were practically sitting next to them. So we were like, oh my gosh, people are going to think that these guys are with us.
It was weird. I wonder if they've just never been to a comedy show before and didn't know the etiquette or
Well, Cameron
what? It was insane.
Esposito always says that people like that really think they're helping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they genuinely think this is going to add to the show. It's not that this person has worked on this for months and months and years.
It was hard to be mad at them because they were obviously like really into it and huge fans, but they
Right.
just did not know that that wasn't
geez.
okay.
I'd be surprised if
Yikes.
either of them remember
Yeah.
what happened,
Oh.
to be honest.
Maybe somebody filmed it and they sent it to them the next day. It'd be so embarrassing. Okay, let's hear another thing from James. What do you got for
Sure.
us?
How about let's listen to a Portland band called Draft Dodgers, one of my favorite local bands right now. They're a great kind of hardcore and post-punk band with a dark goth influence. Singer is Sam Ott. She was in a few other bands during the 90s and is really cool. And the bassist is in a band called Rabbits that I like a lot. And this song is off their tape that's called Why I Want to F Ronald Reagan. And the track is called Crawl.
Cool.
Yeah, they're great live. Like, Sam has such a great presence on stage. She's just kind
Rad.
of magical. So I would definitely recommend trying to check them out if you can.
Yay. They're great.
Cool.
I liked it. I say yes. 2 thumbs up.
Awesome.
Benjamin?
Oh, yeah. I guess all I have left to play is that Circuit to You track.
Ooh.
Oh, you're a big Circuit to You fan.
Oh, yeah. I think she is one of the best people out there right now.
And this is off a new album?
Off of the album that I tried really hard for KRS to put out, but she went with Thrill Jockey. No hard feelings. It's
We like them.
Yeah, they're a great label too. And I think that this album is just a work of art. And
Cool.
Yeah.
But did it come out this year?
yeah, it came out in, I think, May.
Oh, wow. For some reason, I thought it was going to come out last year. Okay.
Once the rain has washed away every footprint you have made. Once the wind has blown through every word you spoke, every hidden truth. All the place we could go. Maybe I will meet you there in a world where we'll go all the way, all the way. Maybe I will make the jump. Maybe you will push up to go all the way,
Love it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite albums of the year too. It's so good. And live, it was awesome.
Cool.
And her album before that, Overdue, I thought was just as good, very different. I think she did 4 albums and they were all solo, and this is the first one with a 5-piece band. And the arrangements are great. Her singing is just in a league of its own.
Yeah.
The guitar playing is excellent. I believe she plays a 12-string guitar.
Cool.
And she made a video for one of the songs too. That's really phenomenal. It's almost like a interesting like short film in itself. It's
Wow.
really good.
Yeah, she's awesome. That is a great band. James, did you have one more?
Yeah, I can play one more. A band called Straight Crimes. They're from San Francisco, Oakland, that area. The guitarist singer has been in a bunch of bands. His name's Aaron Allen. He was in a band called Child Pornography. He was in a band called Sister Effer. So he's pretty good at coming up with band names. I don't know anything about the drummer, but this is just a great like post-punk song called Why Is the World So Bad?
I got a question to ask you. Why is the world so bad? Why does it make me want to cry? Why is the world so bad? Why does it make me want to cry? I wish I could sing like you. I wish I could sing like you. I wish I could sing like you. I wish I could sing like you.
Awesome.
Cool.
So good. Why is the world so bad?
I don't know. That's a great question that the band is asking, and I hope they get an answer.
I know. I hope we all get an answer.
Yeah, people just need to be more reasonable.
That's a great band. They remind me entirely of my like late high school era of bands that I used to listen to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that they're reminiscent of like the Wipers and the Urinals and stuff like that, and they fit into that, but they're kind of doing their own thing with it. And I've seen all his other bands, and they've all been like really great high energy live bands, so I'm sure this band is also the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
live. Very cool.
Cool.
So what are you guys looking forward to in 2016? Besides the fabulous Kill Rock Stars releases, of course.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that Blues Control make another album, but we'll see. I should email them and ask.
I'm just open to what comes. I can't think of anything specifically.
You don't have anything on your schedule? Because I know that both of you are pretty good at looking and seeing what people are working on.
I hope Marnie Stern finally makes another album.
We all do.
I should email her again.
You should
today.
email
I've
her,
been
too.
emailing her every month.
She's busy. She's got a day job.
I'm sure that there's going to be something that happens. And I know that usually every January and February I learn about a bunch of new bands from the previous year that I missed. So I'm actually just really excited about that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I actually like to oftentimes like wait a few years until like hype kind of dies down about a band before actually checking them out. So I'm
Right.
not like influenced by people talking about it. So I'm thinking like I'm going to check out some releases from 2010 next year and see what they were doing back then.
Yeah.
Ideally music will stand the test of time, right?
Well, that's what we hope.
That's what we hope. There's this blog that I visit called Blastitude that, it started in 2001 as like a music magazine, and it converted into a blog at one point. But he just posted his best of 2014 list a month ago, and there was a ton of stuff I hadn't heard of, so I've been checking that out.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, thanks, you guys. Ben Parrish, James Reling, Kill Rock Stars, super mega force in the house.
No problem.
Yay.
Back to the MP3 mines.
Back to the MP3 mines.
Oh boy.
Take me up, ooh, take me up, ooh, take me up, where you're mine, where we're free, all I see is lost in green, and my core, breathing fantasy, and ooh, take me up to that place, to your mind, where my thoughts get caught in time, and my soul's calmest light can sleep soundly through the night. If I drop the beat, will you sing with me? If I drop the beat, will you sing with me? If I drop the beat, will you sing with Bring me back in the wake of bring me back in the wake of all this happened. Ooh, bring me back where we're there, coastal air, running 20 by the sea, and my legs dancing wildly. But nostalgic thoughts make a young babe crazy. When I get lost, I just turn on Wazy. She always knows which way to take me. Basking naked where the sun rays hit me. See you out Wazy. Boom, boom, boom. If I drop the beat, will you sing with me? If I drop the beat, will you sing with me? If I drop the beat, will you sing with me? I'll see you out. I'll see you out.
Three, two, one, call it. If you're enjoying this program, please consider becoming a subscriber on Bandcamp. Just go to thefutureofwhat.bandcamp.com. To find out what's coming up next, follow us on Twitter at KRSFOW. Now, back to the show. So today we are talking to Kiran Gandhi, who performs as Madam Gandhi, and she drums for M.I.A., has an MBA, and she's an activist and rad musician. So Kiran Gandhi, welcome to The Future of What?
I'm so happy to be on this podcast. I'm such a fan of this podcast, so thanks for having me, Portia.
Yay. So today we're talking about everybody's best of 2015 to sort of end up this crazy year and see where we're at. And so you sent us a nice list of stuff, and I want to get started with the SZA track that you sent us.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to just talk for a second about what it is that you love about this particular track?
Yes, I will. And I think the thing that I'm going to say may make a lot of people angry, but every time that Chance the Rapper comes in, about a minute and a half into the song, is actually when I start the song over again, because I just want to listen to her the whole time without him. I like when they sing together a little bit, but he comes in and I'm like, no, like I was in this hypnotic vibe listening to her sing and use electronic music so beautifully. I just want her to keep going. But I picked that song because I listened to it on repeat when I found it at the start of the year. And I felt like it really represented a direction in music we're seeing where artists are using tech really, really well and still keeping the humanity in the song. And I think one of my biggest deterrents from house music and from electronic music is that it just, after I listen to it 3-4 times, it doesn't feel enjoyable anymore or soulful. But she uses production and electronic music production in a way that inspires me and makes me want to do that for Madam Gandhi. So that's why I chose that song. I think James Blake is another great example. Obviously, M.I.A. is a great example. Alt J is a great example. FKA Twigs is a great example. These artists are some of my favorite who are using electronic music well.
This particular SZA track is Child's Play, and I felt like it was a very, very minimal track. Do you feel that, or do you not feel that?
Well, I think maybe that's the result, but I think to make it and to create the ebbs and flows of emotion, it's quite difficult. I think it reminds me of a lot of like what also the OEO crew is doing with The Weeknd and Party Next Door and Drake. It comes across as minimal, almost a cappella, but the amount of work that goes in to use electronics intelligently to create that effect is quite complex.
So that leads us right into Wednesday Night Interlude by Drake,
Yes.
Party Next Door. So tell us what you love about that track.
I never thought that I would be a Drake convert. I mean, he's singing a lot of times very sexist, misogynistic songs. He's insulting people. He's talking about how awesome he is. But then I started paying attention, and I actually couldn't believe how vulnerable a lot of the songs were. Maybe some of them have that kind of party vibe that I was talking about, but a lot of them also address feeling vulnerable or hurt or sad or in pain in a relationship. And I felt very inspired that one of the top male artists of our time, him, and then also Justin Bieber, if the two main male artists of our time are those two, and they're kind of embracing their own vulnerability and shifting away from a hyper machismo culture, I feel like that is a very interesting trend to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is very interesting. So you brought it up. So we'll go to Where Are You Now by Justin Bieber with Skrillex and Diplo.
Yes.
Was that just for fun?
Man. No. The New York Times put out the coolest video I have ever seen that interviews the three of them and has each of them weigh in on their perspective as to how they created that song and how unexpected the collaboration was, but how much each of them wanted it. And I learned a lot just about making electronic music. They taught me that they take Justin Bieber's voice and then they pitch shifted it super high and then put on a lot of effects to create that flute sounding do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, you know, that really high-pitched moment in the song.
Uh-huh.
And so that's actually just Justin's voice. And I thought that was so cool that they shared that. It made me want to do that kind of stuff and just experiment and be more liberated with how I create and use Ableton Live. And then going back to this notion of celebrating more vulnerable and female traits, I've been using the slogan, "The future is female," a lot. Otherwild.com sells these shirts, and I resonate so much with the phrase. To me, it means both men and women starting to embrace both their female and their male traits more authentically instead of suppressing their female traits and exaggerating their male traits. And in seeing both Justin and Drake do that, I feel like hopefully that will inspire both men and women to do the same.
I don't know what to say to that except that yes, amen. That would be excellent. I tend to think of these things as cultural because it's so, what is a female or a male trait in any given culture is cultural because they change so much when you travel and see how people do things in different cultures. So, in American culture, outward manifestations of sorrow, let's say, are sort of a female characteristic, but in some cultures that's only for men.
Wow,
for
great
example.
point. That's so true. You're right. I'm definitely speaking about America and the Western world. You're right.
Yeah, definitely.
Great point.
So let's talk about Make You Feel by Alina Baraz.
Baraz, yes.
Baraz.
I wanted to bring up that track because, the way I found her was just through a friend saying you have to listen to this song. And then every song on her album, Urban Flora, was just incredible. And then so many people were listening to her. She was sort of a SoundCloud phenomenon that blew up. And she was the soundtrack for my entire summer. I would listen to that album over and over again. It was just beautiful, beautiful music. And then I went to the concert, and she, turned the music off for a second, and she addressed the audience. And she says, this moment, all of you singing this music with me here, is the product of me emailing back and forth with a Danish producer who had never even been to the States. For 2 years, we would send lyrics and vocals and stems and electronic music concepts. Then he would work on it. I would send my notes. I would send lyrics. And now we're here with this beautiful album. He has a visa to come perform in the States, and now we're performing together. And I just thought that was also not only on the musical side really inspiring, but just kind of showing a trend that we're seeing in music collaboration that's been possible because of the internet in a way that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I read about them, and it said that they had actually met on SoundCloud, those two people, and they hadn't actually
That's it.
known each other,
That's
which is
it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat.
And it made me reach out to more people on SoundCloud. When I went to Berlin to speak 4 weeks ago at Ableton Live's conference, I went out, and this one DJ, her name was Sarah Farina, she played this awesome track, and at the end of the night, I was like, what was that track? She told me about it. It was called Raw by Scrude, which is Skrude. I messaged him and said the same thing. I was like, I want to collaborate with you on a track. This is so cool. And he couldn't believe that I thought his music was good. He thought my music was good. It was this awesome, like, mutual enthusiasm. And so I just sent him some recordings of percussion that hopefully he'll use in the next song. So that's how each of these songs have been inspiring me. It's just very direct.
That's so cool. And I love it because I listened to some of your music, and your music to me didn't sound like any of this music that you have favorited here. But I like that, I think that's important.
Yeah.
It's like you have influences, you have things that inspire you, but it doesn't turn around and just make the exact same music. You make something that's your own.
I think that's the best thing you can do, is that let something inspire you, but then as it goes through you and then outputs, again, it's something else entirely different. But you can't help but be inspired by your surroundings and the people you listen to.
So the last track you gave us is It's Only by Odessa.
Oh, that track, it's just so cool. I think it's another data point example of what I've been talking about. People making electronic music feel more soulful and more emotional. I mean, the front singer that they have, even though her voice is heavily manipulated, it feels like there is a true sorrow in her singing about a breakup. And when I went to see them live this year, I remember being really impressed that for two DJs who make electronic music without a live band, they had an awesome live show. So that was why I actually picked that track, is that another trend I'm seeing, or another challenge I'm seeing in the music industry today, is the more electronic music gets and the more sort of singular or individual, the more difficult it is to put on a super awesome live show. So you have to get scrappy and a little bit more innovative. And their setup was so cool. They showed us the stuff they were doing live versus the stuff that they had pre-programmed. They had live drums on the stage where each of them played a beat. And they just created really awesome dynamics up and down where you'd get really excited about the drop. And I thought they did a good job.
That's interesting because it sounds like what you're saying is one of the appeals of the current trend of electronic music to you is that it's moving away from a place of cold sterility and being manipulated to make it more emotional and deep, like having some...
And human.
Right, some human feeling. That's so interesting to me. Now, I am super old, and so in my mind, I'm like, well, why not just not use electronics, but just go back to the old way of rock and roll, punk rock, like grab a guitar, jump on stage, start screaming your head off, like bring emotion, like the immediacy of emotion rather than mediated emotion through electronics.
I never thought of it that way. That's a really cool point. I think to me, what gets me excited and has always gotten me excited, it's the reason why I started playing drums. I just like newness. And so I love the idea of someone opening up their laptop and experimenting with a new plugin in Ableton, or buying a new piece of music technology, and then it makes a completely different sound. So it dictates the type of music we hear in this day and age. I think one of the most important things to pay attention to is that the music technology that's available on the market today directly affects what we hear. And I do like the idea of different humans using this technology and pushing musical sounds forward in a way that's still human. I find it just like awesome, basically.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right about technology because, I think about like the early days of hip hop, which is when I was in elementary school, like the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Everybody was dealing with the exact same keyboard. Like there was only one keyboard and everyone had it. So they were all using the same drum tracks. They were all using the same like bleep and bloop noises that they had then were just, so it's like, that's why early hip hop has this extremely uniform feel to it because everybody had kind of the same technology. And then, people were doing amazing stuff with scratching records and stuff. So they were actually changing the technology that existed in new and different ways.
I also did want to mention, I've been using this awesome technology called sensory percussion. It's not on the market just yet. It's in a Kickstarter for a long time, and they're going to launch in January. But as a drummer who's never played an instrument with a melody, these sensors are a total game changer because I put them on each of my drums, my acoustic normal drum set, one sensor per drum head. And then I can hotspot different parts of each individual drum to correspond to a MIDI note in Ableton.
Cool.
So I can record it's so cool. So I can basically record an octave of my voice. I can go, something like that. And then I can map maybe the rim is the lower vocal note. Maybe the middle of the drum is the higher vocal note. I can do up to like 10 of them per drum. And then when I play the drums, output it onto a PA or an amp or whatever, I can literally be playing my voice as well as a drum beat.
Wow.
And I'm so excited for 2016 because a lot of my creative process and composition will be using sensory percussion to make music. I actually have a video example of that on my website right now on youtube.com.
That is so cool. When did you start playing drums?
When I was 11.
Nice. That's awesome. I am also a drummer. I was a drummer in punk bands for years, which was
so dope. Portia.
so fun. I love drummers are awesome.
They're
If
awesome.
I do
Are you
say
familiar
so
with
myself.
Tom magazine?
Totally. Yeah, that's run by a friend of mine.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a
good.
great magazine. So let's talk a little bit, since I have you on the phone, about your big 2015 People magazine article.
The menstrual marathon?
The menstrual marathon. I think
Awesome.
that was like
Happy to
you
talk
became
about
a viral, you were like a meme. You went around the internet.
Wow.
It was amazing.
It's true. I learned a lot about virality in a way that I never could have expected.
Yeah,
that
no
day.
doubt. No doubt.
I think feminism and gender equality and kind of being a punker has always been in my veins and in my system. I think it's part of the reason why I started playing the drums. I thought it was just like rebellious and awesome and kind of change people's minds. So that's just always been ingrained in me. And when I approached the marathon course that morning, I got my period and I wasn't expecting it at all. And I was like praying that it would just skip a day and wait one more day. Just let me do the marathon and then I'll deal with you. Is how I was talking to my period at the time. But I got it. And every time I had practiced running and I had my period, I just stopped. Like I didn't practice that day. I skipped out for a couple of days because it's uncomfortable and it hurts and I just don't like it. But on that day, I had to make a decision. And my decision was about basically not using any sort of foreign object in my body. The amount of people who chafe by using stuff like that is enormous. There's also no privacy on a marathon course. So to change out a tampon or anything like that would have been very uncomfortable and probably not even possible.
Right.
And then I also was just thinking like I know I don't want to run with any of this stuff. I would much prefer to just hope that I don't bleed that much and just run, without any foreign object on me. I just want to run in the way that I've practiced, which is these pants, these shoes, these socks. And if I do wear a tampon, it will be for other people's eye comfort. That was
Right.
the only reason why.
Right.
And that was when I was like, oh, I'm definitely not running with that stuff in my body. No way. It shouldn't be about somebody else. It should be about my own comfort as a woman running a marathon.
Well, you're running a marathon for God's sake. Yeah.
That's it. And there's strength in that. There's power in that. And that was the initial thought, and I wrote about it. But the more I ran, the more I thought, listen, I'm in a position of privilege. Everything is going to be fine for me. But why don't we talk about the fact that in India, where I spent a lot of time growing up, this is the beginning of women's economic disenfranchisement. Women can't go to school once they hit 7th grade. Women can't work safely in the workplace. They are shamed. People in Nepal are sent to another tent to bleed. I mean, all sorts of crazy things.
Wow.
So this is the sort of mentality behind the marathon. And I want to add one more thing, which is just that I will say that shock culture and performance art did deeply influence that decision. When I used to drum for M.I.A., she used to tell me so many different inspiring things. She had a video called Born Free. And in Born Free, she has an image of a SWAT team traveling all over this city, this kind of Gotham City-like place, finding and capturing redhead males and killing them. And
What?
because we're not, yes, you must watch this. It was banned for the longest time. I think maybe you can find it on Vimeo still. But in this Born Free video, she's basically saying we're so used to seeing people of color assassinated, people in Africa assassinated, people of an Arab descent assassinated because the news has socialized us to accept that. But if we made it a white person, it shocks everyone.
Right.
And so in that art, and by doing it in a safe place, which is how I felt about the marathon, you can really shake stuff up and make people question their norms and their values. So that was sort of how the music inspiration influenced my choice to run the marathon free bleeding.
I love it. I think it's amazing. Bringing women's periods into the public eye and into discussion is awesome. I think that that's really powerful that you did that because I think it's going to have a lot of impact. I think a lot of people are going to talk about it and think about it in a way that, that's just something that we put away and don't talk about. Because you're right, we are privileged. Like, we do have handy public bathrooms. Like, women don't have to talk to anybody about that. But it happens every month. Like, it's a pretty common occurrence for 51% of the population.
Exactly.
So
I know.
very interesting.
And I also think, it's cool. I was just going to say that Cosmo this year said they called 2015 the year the period went public. And I do think that all of these little data points and actions in isolation form a larger cultural narrative that does make people question. And it's cool when more people participate because then it makes it more relevant. I'm so fascinated by this stuff.
Kiran Gandhi performs as Madam Gandhi, and she joined us here on The Future of What. Thank you so much, Kiran.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Portia.
And that's our show. The music we played today was used by permission. If you have a question you want answered on the show, please email us at thefutureofwhatshow@gmail.com. Our episodes are archived at killrockstars.com/thefutureofwhat, and you can subscribe to our podcast on Bandcamp. Follow us on Twitter at KRSFOW. Our program was engineered by Brent Asbury at Beta Petrol and is produced by Will Watts, Anna McLean, and John Sepulvedo. I'm Portia Sabin, president of Kill Rock Stars. See you next week.